and I adapted the training. Still managed to do a couple of long runs. So, you know, don't worry too much. You can adapt the training. 2008 again, no motivation. I lost my motivation about this time. Didn't do enough long runs. Didn't do enough pace runs. Still went off too quick. Again, hit the wall. I tried to get through it by taking lots of gels. Well, 3 gels, but lots of Lucozade. Threw up again on the embankment. Lovely.
You're not going to wash.
And 2010, so 2009, I thought, right, that's, you know, need a rest from this. 2010 came back with a vengeance, up the miles. But were they quality? Looking back, I don't think they were quality. I was doing recovery runs of half an hour. For me, didn't help me. Other people use them, but I guess doing 2 recovery runs for half an hour each, when you're only doing sort of average 43, it means your quality runs aren't enough, you know, still. So I did my long runs too slow. You can do your long runs too slow. If you're changing your gait, if you're going so slow your gait's changing. You know, I was running with probably a wrong group for me. You know, you've got to choose which group of people. It's got to be roughly your speed. You can play around and you can run in a range, but it was probably a minute too slow. And I didn't do enough pace runs. Went off too fast again. Bit of a disaster, really.
But I think this was the year there was a shower at the end, wasn't it?
Last year, no, it was a shower at the start last year.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was 2009. No,
Yeah.
2008 it rained.
Yeah, towards the end there was a.
2008.
Yeah, okay.
I had a problem with pains in my muscles, and that was probably because I just didn't train well enough. So lots of learnings there. I mean, the first thing is I haven't actually improved, but it's obvious why. I'm not training enough. I'm not doing enough long runs, not doing enough pace runs. I'm going off too quick, and you know, I'm hitting the wall.
Have you done a marathon other than the London Marathon?
No,
Okay.
this is a good question, and I'm getting to the point where, again, you've got to think about what, you know, if something's going wrong, don't keep doing it.
Okay.
And I keep doing the London Marathon, but I've got a point to prove, so I've got to do it. But you try another marathon, do a foreign marathon, you know, go to...
I think the autumn ones are quicker because you get about an extra month of training from when you commit, because you don't have such a 1st of January start of thing.
And it's easier training in summer.
So it's easier training in the light.
It's warmer,
see
but
what's going on.
yeah, the light, you get the amount of light.
Thought of doing a 20-mile run in the summer.
Yeah.
I'd much rather do it in the winter, but that's personal preference.
Sorry if you've already covered this, but where do you fit in your pace runs? Because I just think, say like I've got, you know, like track session and
Well, that's, remember...
but Wednesday nights it's like faster than pace.
I only do 3 hard runs a week. Even if I'm doing a 100-mile week, I've consciously only scheduled in 3. So I'll schedule in, say, long run Monday night, pace run will be Wednesday night, because I'll just pick a group that's slightly more aggressive than I might otherwise pick, and that'll be my pace run. Then Friday I'll do my reps. Saturday I'll rest.
Okay.
Sunday I'll kick off again. So I just spread them out so there's a clear day between. And I don't try and do any more. I think there's a lot of opportunity. This club has so much in the way of things to participate in. You don't have to try and do it all.
And
the races are
just to
good.
make it
Like
right.
on a Wednesday night,
Yeah.
so if you want to do like
Yeah.
Millennium but do it out of, you know, a race, a pace that kind of feels good, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to sustain that for the marathon. I don't see where to fit in a marathon pace.
Well, this is why, I really agree with Greg totally, that you've got to work out, that's a hard session, so you need to be rested beforehand and have the opportunity to recover the day after. So you can't do it next to your Tuesday track or the Thursday lactate threshold or whatever you do, which is why I've moved to this 2-week period. So I'm doing the first week, Tuesday and Thursday, the second week, a Wednesday tempo run. I'm not saying do it Wednesday, I'm saying do it where you can fit it in.
Where's your marathon pace run there? Is that your
Tempo.
Okay.
And
how long is that?
I'm doing build up from sort of 8 to 13 miles. It's a hard session. When we say try and do marathon pace, there's a school of thought that says, well, hang on, you shouldn't really be doing exactly your marathon pace because you're in the middle of training. And so maybe just cut off a little bit, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, so go a little bit slower if you can. That's one school of thought. Because otherwise it is quite a tough session and it's hard to
really
carry
easy
training.
session, you're only doing 8 miles at a
No, because
pace.
it's-
But that's, so you're going marathon pace and 8 miles, you're building up from 8 miles up to 13 plus. Yeah, and 8 miles should be easy marathon pace, depending on what you're doing the day before and after.
You just mentioned foreign marathons. My worst wall experience was Berlin. I got through 25k and completely fell apart for about a mile. Felt like my head was just dislocated from my body. It was pretty horrible. It came back and I finished it okay in the end, but it was a very horrible sort of mile and a half, 2 miles in total. Part of that was I went off too fast. I tried to bait within a mile and it didn't work. And part of it is I was absolutely knackered because I spent the day before walking around Berlin being a tourist. Really, if you're going to be doing all this, factor that in.
There are some marathons that are on Saturdays, and I think they're great because then you can spend the city break sort of thing sightseeing on Sunday.
Don't have to do it.
Like the other thing as well, if you do New York City, then you have to think of the time zones as well.
Yeah.
You know, so and then it's even worse if you travel east. You know, some sort of again like this is then much harder to accommodate. So you have to plan your trip with enough time in between.
And this is why I just do like a marathon every year because it's easy.
So stick to Europe or something.
It's easier to the logistics side of things. Okay, so we're still.
Oops.
Are we? No, we're gone.
Gone.
Which is good. Which is good. Great. Okay, so John's going to talk about race practice.
Race practice. Okay, practicing for the marathon. We'll talk about two things briefly. One is doing it in training, practicing in training, one's practicing in racing. Okay, so you just mentioned race pace. You need to practice your race pace while you're training because you need to know when you're running in a marathon roughly what feels right at the pace you want to achieve. If you don't know by the time you get there what 8-minute miling, 9-minute miling feels like to you, the chances are you're going to get it wrong on the day because you'll be excited, you'll almost certainly go off too quick. Other people around you will go off too fast and follow them. So you really need to be practicing what pace you want to be running at on the day in training in a nice controlled environment for you. Okay, so that's probably for me rule number one. Know what feels right for you at the pace you want to run. Secondly, running in the kit you're wearing on the day. Yeah, no new shoes it says here. I'll confess that my marathon PB I ran a brand new pair of shoes. I wasn't happy with the pair I was going to run in, so I changed them moving forward. It was fine for me. But you do need to know, especially when that's one of the reasons for long runs, you need to know what kit you're going to be wearing. You'll know after 20 miles if it rubs in the wrong place or whatever you need to do to fix it. And make sure you do it. Again, gentlemen, nibbles, make sure you work accordingly with those because you see people with all sorts of messes that you don't really want to know about. Feet, make sure you know what works for you with your feet. I take mine up. I learned very early in my running career I can't run for more than about 10k without my feet just being torn to bits by most shoes. So I put tape all over my shoes, all over my feet.
Can tape?
Zinc oxide tape. And if I can, I'll get something underneath that as well. I have a layer of...
As a general thing, you should really look after your shoes if you're doing this. Your feet, you need to, if you've got corns, calluses, whatever, or your nail length, have a good look at your feet at least once a week and just say, right, is there anything I need to get sorted out, I need to freshen up with, because it can cause a lot of injuries, things that can be easily prevented.
Again,
TLC.
My marathon PB, I went to Droplus beforehand because I was so concerned about my feet. And afterwards, and I had no problems with my feet at all during the race. I sought professional advice, but the first half marathon I did, I couldn't walk properly for about a week afterwards, so I've taken so many layers of skin off my feet. So make sure you know what works. And again, the weather plays a part in this. If it's going to be cold, you might want to wear gloves. Probably though, you're not going to want to wear gloves the whole way through a marathon because you'll get too hot, so be prepared to chuck a pair. I remember the first marathon I did, 2005 London. There were gloves, 3 miles in, there were gloves all over the place. I haven't seen so many gloves anywhere. People chuck them, but be prepared to chuck kit, and also make sure you know what works for you in hot weather, windy weather, whatever, that will get round. And again, long runs are ideal for that.
Most people in London overdress. You watch people at the halfway point, they're looking overdressed, like they've got one layer too many, particularly beginners. And the consequence then is that as your muscles heat up, you have more heat to get rid of, and your clothing's not helping, so you dehydrate more because you sweat more. That's your body's main response to being too hot. Once you start dehydrating, you've got other problems that you don't want to manage back, taking water back in. So it's counterproductive to be too hot.
What about being too cold? I hate being too cold.
My PB was on a very cold day, so provided you got the right level of stuff, it was 4 degrees C when we finished, let alone about 0 when we started. But I got lucky that I didn't get any joint problems. That's why I tend to get these colds. The machine just doesn't feel very well lubricated. I got away with it. That's a PB.
Again, start off wearing something to be prepared to chuck it if it's cold.
I had 4 bin liners on shelf, 4 bin liners around my waist, just to be warm and stuff. And I wore gloves for about 22 out of 26 months.
It's cold though.
Bloody cold in Chicago.
We talked a bit about hydration and fueling during the race when we talked about the wall really, so I won't go into gels and stuff again. You will find some gels you can't take very easily. SIS gels, you don't need water with them, whereas a lot of other gels you do. Again, it's worth looking at the literature that's available online about gels. Talk are really good. I highly recommend them if that's what if you're struggling with gels. They actually taste nice, which does make a bit of a difference. Race day preparations. Those of you doing London, starts are 9:30, 10:10. It's a bit different to everything else. There's stuff at the front that when you get there it's really well organised and stuff. Other races aren't as well organised. But the things you need to be thinking about is, okay, what kit do I need? Making sure you've got a plan for all of that. Practising the pre-race food, so practising at some other time, thinking about what you're going to be eating and making sure you've got everything you need so you're happy in yourself as well. And make sure it works as well. The morning of the race, make sure you practice eating and then going out for a run at that time, and maybe even travelling to Blackheath for the start on a Sunday beforehand and running back from Blackheath. Doesn't matter which way you go, run through Greenwich Park, whatever, but just practice getting there so you know how you're confident in yourself about knowing how you're going to get there. If you go to a foreign marathon, make sure you know where it started, things like that, so it makes it happier. And again, make sure if you're going to eat that you practice eating whatever it is 3 hours beforehand so you know how you're going to react. It's nothing worse than trying something on the day and it doesn't work because you have no idea what's going to happen next. Okay.
What do you typically eat?
What do I eat?
Yeah.
I've tried all sorts of things. I generally don't want to eat before the marathon anyway, so I don't eat enough. Is the answer. Porridge is probably the best thing if you can make it work for you. Some sort of energy bar, that sort of thing. But I probably don't eat enough. And I think I go into most marathons a little bit in terms of energy, personally.
I tend to go with just 2 pieces of toast because I don't like having a full stomach. I do carbohydrate seriously for the previous 2 days. But that means percentage, not quantity, because when you taper, your energy output diminishes massively over the last couple of weeks as you cut down the miles. The other thing I do is I take 1 gel about 2 minutes before the gun goes on the ground, so that's 3 hours after breakfast for me. I can take a bit of glucose at that point with some water. But that's just mine. I've built that up over the years. I find it sort of works.
But you do need to practice really. So, yeah. I would say if there's anything really worth practicing, is the food. Make sure you know what you take.
I've got enough experience to sort of know what works for me, and I just stick to it. I don't muck around. And I don't take any of the zany advice that people come up with for obvious reasons.
Exactly. In terms of racing, I previously have done a 10k race a couple of weeks before the marathon and found that's worked really well for me. It's a really good guide of where I am. Hopefully everything's gone well. You've got a good chance of getting a good time with not a PB, that sort of thing. 5k racing is a good way to test your progress over time. I want to think about, say, doing the last Friday of the month is a good flattish race. It's the same course most of the time, so in the same conditions. So, and it's a good speed endurance builder as well. 5k is a very hard test, so it does you good.
You want to get a PB actually if you train properly, because you're good for a lot of distances once you've done this. I personally would give yourself a 3-week gap between your last serious race and the marathon, because you want to clear your head of whatever pain you experienced in the race. So you go into the marathon nice and fresh mentally, thinking, well, this isn't going to hurt. I've got hundreds of thousands of people cheering me on. This is going to be a laugh. It won't, but it will be for a while.